Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. From banning toxic in-laws to dodging names that sound like furniture brands, sometimes parenting means choosing peace and practicality over family drama and awkward monikers. Today in the rLounge, sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones. Up first, the most powerful way to cut family drama is to just cut the family out, especially when they think real men should ignore their kids' feelings. Am I the a-hole for banning my in-laws for seeing my children and threatening my husband with divorce if he doesn't agree? My mother-in-law has a total of 10 grandchildren. Mine are her least favorite, and as long as the children were young and didn't understand it was tolerable. But now they suffer a lot, and notice the favoritism in visiting in their in-laws has become an ordeal for my children, especially when the other cousins are there. Now I have decided to eliminate the anxiety from my children and forbid my in-laws to ever be in my children's lives again. Almost everyone on my husband's family, including my husband, are calling me an a-hole, and many are saying that I am an arrogant and hateful woman, and that's why I never was a favorite of my mother-in-law. But see, this is where I disagree. It doesn't matter if she likes me or not. I am the arrogant one, or she's the selfish, bitter cunt. It shouldn't be taken out on the children, and here's an example of the train of thought that made me come to this conclusion. I have a sister and a brother, both married with kids. I hate my brother-in-law because he is an abusive butt, and I love my sister-in-law. I love all my nibblings because they are my family and didn't choose their parents. In other words, my children are her grandchildren and her son's children, no matter who I am. Now she's calling my husband crying every day about how I am forbidding her from seeing her grandchildren, which is beyond me because why would she even care when she doesn't like them? Because I finally said something? My other reason is that I don't want my children to resent their cousins for being treated better because it is not the cousin's fault either that the adults aren't even pretending to be civil. My husband said that I have no right, and he has the same amount of say to decide who meets his children. So I told him that fine, he could choose us or mommy, and we could divorce, and I would make sure his mom to never see our children enforced legally because what started all of this is one of my sister-in-laws sending me chat logs after chat logs of his mother spewing hatred about my children, especially my daughter, because she looks like me. Am I the a-hole? Can I forbid my husband's family to see our children, even with him believing we could fix this in a less dramatic way? His mother is very willing to apologize and talk, and she says that she loves our children very much. But for me, that ship has sailed and sunken. My daughter does not want to see anyone from that side of the family. Ask for some opinions. The audience has them. As someone who grew up with a grandmother who was like this, don't bring kids around her. We do notice the favoritism. We do resent our cousins who were favorites, and the relationship can be damaged because of this adult's actions. I don't know if it merits divorce, but definitely low contact with them. I was about 7 or 8 when my grandmother told me I wasn't supposed to be born. I told my mother, and she let me choose to see her again. I didn't see her much until I was a few years older. She's always hated the kids my mother had with one of her specific sons, my bio father, so the hatred for him transferred to us. Just keep your kids away from her. It's not worth the pain and hurt of seeing her. The OP replies, see, that's what I'm talking about. I don't want my children to learn to resent in this early age, and the cousins are innocent in this. But I understand that for a 7-year-old, she can't understand who is behind what's making her hurt, just that she is hurt because of these people. I hate that for my children. To be isolated. Your approach seems like a sensible way to shield your kids from the toxic fallout. Plus, if it comes down to choosing between a grandmother who seems to have a permanent meh button or a more stable family environment, it sounds like a no-brainer. Update. Hi. So I got what I wanted in the end. My husband was reluctant to hear me out, or the children. I told him what's the point of even having a family if you already have a family? What's the point of trying to raise our children to have their own autonomy if we don't listen to them when they say no? He, of course, called me dramatic. We invited his older brother and wife for dinner. The brother brought up the issue, and I was very honest about what I wanted and what the children wanted. The brother laughed it off as me always despising his mother, and I was overreacting. My husband was nodding in agreement, so I asked brother-in-law if he read the chats between his wife, his sister, and his mom, and his other sister-in-law, the one who ratted them out. And at first he denied it. Then he said, yeah, I did. I asked him what he would have done if his mother, or mother-in-law, wrote these things about his children, and he just said, ha, she would never even dream of seeing them again, not even if hell froze over. So I asked then why my children? He looked at me, then my husband, his brother, then he casually said, "Because I'm a real man, but your husband has always been a pussy." I don't talk in balls and pussies per usual, just retelling what he told me. My husband was silent the whole time. I said, "Well, I don't have balls, but your mother will never see my children again, not even if hell freezes over. So tell that to your brother, or anyone for that matter." My husband took our daughter out for a dinner and movie, a tradition of theirs, and he probably talked to her about her grandparents. She told him they don't like her, and she feels sad about it. She made it very clear she doesn't want to talk to them. She told him she already had grandparents, my folks, so that's enough. When he got home, he said that we don't need to visit again. We will not accept any gifts from them, and that he can visit them alone. I said, "Thank you." The community has one other thought. I commend you for sticking up for your kids. It's hard when everyone around is telling you you're wrong. I was the least favorite grandchild of my paternal grandmother. My brother and sister took after our dad's side, but I'm like a mirror image of my mom. Granny legit accused my mother of having an affair and was openly cruel to me. The best thing my parents ever did for me was cut off her access to me until she smartened up. I haven't seen her since I was 8. Your husband's brother's real man comment is a gem of insight into how deep the family's dysfunction runs. I'm amazed you managed to keep your composure while dealing with your husband's brother's delightful commentary on manhood. In the end, you've done what many dream of. You've cut the drama out of your kids' lives and left the family drama for the deranged. Sometimes the best way to deal with a dysfunctional family is to make sure your kids' only experience of family is the one where love and support take center stage. Bravo, OP. What do you make of this? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Up next, some battles are worth skipping, and some names are best left unsaid. Am I the a-hole for rejecting the worst name ever for our offspring? So, my husband, 38 male, and I, 36 female, are expecting our first child, a bouncing baby girl due in a few months. We were both over the moon when we found out the gender, but now things have gotten complicated to say the least. See, when we first started talking about names, the boy name was immediately decided, Stuart Jr., after my husband. No problem there, it's a classic name and carries family meaning. But for a girl, things got murky. My husband suggested Stuarta. No, you're not having a stroke. Apparently his logic is that since Stuart ends in T, we can just add an A to make it feminine. I tried explaining why that doesn't quite work, how it sounds more like a furniture brand than a human name, how she'd be endlessly correcting people and explaining its origin. He's adamant, though, says it honors him while giving our daughter a unique name. I've suggested alternatives, feminine names that maybe share a similar sound or meaning to Stuart, names he's mentioned liking in the past, even just going back to the drawing board entirely. But he's fixated on Stuarta. Now, I love my husband dearly, and I understand wanting to honor family, but I can't imagine subjecting our daughter to a lifetime of awkward stares and endless questions about her unusual name. I also worry about potential bullying and the impact it could have on her self-esteem. So, Reddit, am I the jerk for refusing to budge on Stuarta? Is there any compromise I haven't considered? Help a soon-to-be mama out. Looking forward to your thoughts and, hopefully, some sanity checks. Edit. Please no suggestions for other TA names. The man clearly has a theme, and I need to gently steer him away from it, not fuel the fire. The verdict was not the a-hole. And now let's see some top comments. First up, not the a-hole. Naming a child is a 2 yes and 1 no situation. Means you need 2 times yes for a name to be it, and 1 no to make sure the name is not the name you choose. Works both ways if you'd ask me. Also, I am not a fan of naming the first name of a child after a parent, because then the child will always be compared to their parents and need to fight harder to be their own person. I have less problems with the middle name being connected to someone else, parents, grandparents, because that is only a formal name and not used in everyday business. Why is he dead set on Stuarta? I mean, there are so many beautiful names, but he only wants to name his daughter after him? Why not after the mother? Like your name, Junior. Is it a bit misogynistic to only want to name the baby after the father? Whose last name will the baby get? His as well? Maybe you could find a way, like name the baby with the same first letter as your husband, Stella, Sally, San, etc. Make sure the baby has a middle name if she shares the same last name as her father, because it will be annoying for simple things like mail and stuff. Someone else chimes in, not the a-hole. Tell him he only gets one kid named after him, so if he goes with Stuart and now, he'll never get a Stuart Jr. And how come it's so important that he be honored but not you? See how he feels about naming a future son a male version of your name. Remind him that baby names need a yes from both parents or it's a no. You both need to be able to live with whatever you go with, even if that means both of you missing out on the one you want most. One more opinion. Not the a-hole. Stuarta sounds like a pharmaceutical product. I can hear the commercials now. In some cases, Stuarta can cause headaches, rashes, and even death. It doesn't have a decent nickname. And no, adding an A doesn't make it feminine in all cases. This is one of them. I'd go for Stuart as a middle name. The old let's mash a masculine name with a vowel and hope for the best approach. I get it. Honoring family is sweet, but maybe consider a compromise, like naming her Stuart or just calling her Sue for short. Or maybe a name that doesn't sound like a straight off the clearance rack at a discount store. Update. First, the good news. We have a beautiful, healthy baby girl. She weighed in at 7 pounds, 4 ounces and already has the most incredible head of dark hair. Seriously, where did that come from? Labor was a marathon, not a sprint. 18 hours of fun. But the amazing nurses kept me fueled up on ice chips and cheesy encouragement. Now for the not so good news. The name situation. Buckle up, because this might take a minute. Right before pushing started, things got a little heated between me and Stuart. Apparently, the stress of contractions made him even more attached to Stuarta. He was pacing the room, muttering about family legacy, while I was doing some very impressive Lamaze breathing exercises. Suddenly, my water broke with a rather impressive pop. Let's just say it startled everyone in the room, including Stuart. The nurse, bless her heart, took advantage of the distraction and very calmly started prepping for delivery. Everything after that was a blur of pushing, encouraging words, and the most amazing head of dark hair emerging into the world. The second our daughter was out, screaming her little lungs out, a wave of pure, primal love washed over me. It was in that moment, staring at this tiny, perfect human being, that the name debate completely evaporated. There was no way I could call this beautiful little girl Stuarta. So what did we end up with? In the haze of postpartum bliss, I blurted out the first name that popped into my head, the name of the incredible nurse who'd coached me through labor, Ella. Yes, Ella. Not exactly the most adventurous choice, but in that moment it felt perfect. Strong, steady, kind, just like the woman who'd helped bring our daughter into the world. Stuart, bless his confused heart, just looked at me, then at our daughter, then back at me again. Finally, he let out a shaky laugh and said, Ella it is. Thanks for all the support and hilarious Stuarta comparisons. Here's to sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, and the incredible journey of parenthood. Congratulations, OP. It's amazing how contractions can make a name like Stuarta seem more like a bad dream than a family legacy. I'm glad you went with Ella, a name that won't require a footnote on every introduction. Here's to a lifetime of Ella not having to spell out her name, a happy family, and maybe, just maybe, Stuart finding a new family legacy to obsess over, like teaching Ella how to build a dynasty of Lego castles. What do you think? Thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon. And please put your chair back where you found it.